welcome or welcome back to this channel. I'm Tony. This is Business Life with Tony, where I go over my journey so far with home care. It's actually non-medical home care, but this could also apply to home health in some ways. So to get started today, I want to talk about transportation. So deciding whether or not you want to provide transportation. I want to say with any services in your agency, you have the right to turn down any services for any reason. So one of the things that I want to mention is when you decide that you want to transport clients, you need to let your insurance company know that that's something that you're interested in, and just kind of give them the details on that. So in order to do that, you have to kind of figure out what those details are. So does that look like caregivers are going to be transporting clients in the caregiver's vehicle, or can the caregivers transport the clients in the client's vehicle? What does that look like? That's also something that you kind of want to put in policy format, and you also want to put somewhere so that the clients know that they have that option. The next thing that I'm going to say is creating something for the client to visually see. So we provide transportation services to, and then you want to kind of list out doctor's appointments, friends or relatives' homes, grocery shopping, whatever that list looks like for your agency. Just kind of have that already written out somewhere, typed out somewhere for the client to actually see, so they can have an idea of what that looks like. Does that mean that you will not take the client to the liquor store? You know what I mean? So kind of having whatever restrictions, or if it's not on the paper, you have to discuss it with us. Another thing is mileage. So are you going to charge them for mileage? Generally, we have a policy and we go off of what the IRS says. I'm not for sure off the top of my head what that number is. I think it's 65 cent reimbursement. So that actually goes to the caregiver. So we don't charge additional rates to transport them places, but we do charge them the mileage rate. And then if you want for your agency, you could say we stop at 5 miles, or we stop at 10 miles. And then does that last? Is that for the week, or is that per day? Like, what does that look like for your agency? And then kind of get familiar with what that looks like, because are you okay with, your caregiver driving the client around every visit if they're Monday through Friday? Because then that's also another liability. So be kind of thinking about those type of things. Have it written out for the client to see, and then also having something written out for them to sign. I want to say, for transportation in the client's vehicle, you want to have some sort of documentation where the client is giving the agency and the caregiver permission, giving them permission to use that vehicle. And then the other thing I'm going to say, if the caregiver is taking the client grocery shopping, not taking them, but if the caregiver is going grocery shopping on behalf of the client, or picking up prescriptions, or anything where they have to use money or a card that belongs to the client, you definitely want to have some type of log or sheet that they will sign off on that says, on this day, money or a card was used for this transaction, how much that was, and always bring back a receipt. So one of the things I did in private caregiving when I had an unlicensed agency, I would always get 2 receipts, and I never had a problem with that. And I would let them know. Sometimes they would be like, you want the same receipt or a gift receipt? Like if they're confused, I would be like, oh, I'm doing this transaction for my client. I need a receipt for my agency, and I need a receipt for my client. So generally you can always get 2 receipts, and I do that. I keep one for myself, my paperwork, and then I'll give the client one as well. So just be thinking about ways to set yourself up in the event of anything happening. If they say, such and such had my card and they must have, used this without my permission, you have that log that the client actually signed. They gave them the card to use. You know what I mean? So just all, even with policies, they're there to protect you, to protect your caregivers, and in other ways protect the clients as well, So make sure you're utilizing those things and putting them in place for these reasons. Another thing we think of with transporting clients is it safe? And what does this look like for us? So when we do a home assessment, you generally want to check to see the stability of the client. Do they use a cane? Do they use a wheelchair? Do they use a walker? You know what I mean? So can that fit in the car? You know, if it's a wheelchair, is it easy to kind of fold it up and put it in the back seat or the trunk or something like that? You want to see what that transfer is going to look like. So when you do your home assessment, you might say, may I assist you with getting up and sitting, you know, just to see how stable that client is, and if you think it's a good idea for a caregiver to be able to transport them, or if they need other services for transportation, especially if it's a wheelchair. Sometimes they may have to have a special vehicle for that. So just kind of looking at those things when you do your assessment, and then that'll help you to decide, you know, we want to do centered care, which means we want to focus on care that is specifically for that client. We never want to have something in place that's for everybody, because everybody is different. So when you do that assessment, you're looking at those type of things to figure out what you need to have in place for that specific client, for them to be safe and for this to be a successful and smooth transition from the home to the car, from the car to the grocery store, and then back home. You know what I mean? So those are other things to look at as well. So the rate that I mentioned that we generally take from the IRS website for reimbursement that goes to the caregiver for transportation, they receive additional pay, which is in the mileage category on their paycheck. So they get paid their regular rate for working. Transporting is a service that we provide. Generally, they don't have to, but when they sign the job description, it's on there. So if they're transporting, they get paid mileage. So for the caregiver, they also need to have a sheet where they can list where they went, the mileage, add the mileage up in a column, and then that's how we decide how much they get paid for that trip, for transporting the client where they need to go and back. So they get paid both ways. Another way that we utilize that log is if the caregiver is going from client to client. So I've had people ask me, do they get paid for mileage coming to work? And it's a no. Just like any other job, you have to get there. You have to show up, you have to get there. We're not going to pay you to come to work. We'll pay you when you clock in, you know what I mean? So if they go to a client's home, that's pretty much, that's standard. You have to get to work. But if they get to work and then they have to go to another client after that, then we pay for mileage in between clients. So you leave client A to go to client B, any mileage that you use in between there, you'll be reimbursed for. And if there's another client after that, it's the same case. But then again, when it's time to go home, we don't pay you mileage for you to go home. So that's another thing that you may get asked about, and that's just how my agency handles it. Again, any of these things you could definitely tweak, but this is just what I do or what I've written in my policy. Some of the things even haven't happened yet, but this is how I have things set up, and then I already know in my mind how they're going to carry out because I have a well-planned policy and I have my logs to go along with it. So another thing, my experience in the past working for other agencies, I actually had an agency that would not allow us to pick up clients' medication prescription on their behalf. I'm not sure if there was a mix-up or something with that. At the time, I thought that maybe that was something that the state kind of mandated, but later on I found out that it wasn't. It was just a personal decision that that agency made. They decided that they didn't want to pick up medication on clients' behalf. So you definitely have opportunities to tweak things and think about your agency's safety. Go ahead and insert those things into your policy, and then also you want to make sure you're explaining it to the clients and their relatives as well, just so that you don't want to get in a position where you take on a client and then you guys are going back and forth because you didn't tell them that you don't pick up medication on behalf of a client, and then this client doesn't want to leave home or doesn't feel safe leaving home. So you know what I mean? They could have the option to go with your agency or to go with someone else's agency, or they could figure out like, okay, well, my daughter comes every month around this time. She could pick up the medication for me. So just make sure that, if they mention these type of things, I need help picking up my prescription from the pharmacy, that you're already letting them know, okay, well, we can't do that, but we can take you. It's just a conversation that has to be had, and I think it's in the best interest to, pay attention to what they're asking you for, or what they're saying their services are that they need in the beginning, and then kind of giving them a rundown of those services, making sure you have bullet points so that they understand clearly, and then there's no mix-up later on. And then, like I said, also, if you have some sort of something that you write up so that they can take home, and then they sign it, and you also put it in their folder. That way it's like, well, you understood because you signed it. You understood because you have a copy in your folder and it says the same exact thing. You know what I mean? So that's another example of setting your agency up for success. But that's all I have today based on transporting your clients or helping with that decision to do so. If you have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing and checking out the other videos on this channel. I would like to let you guys in on, you probably already seen because I made a couple of shorts, but I do have a Service Planner Pro that can help you guys be organized, licensed or unlicensed. Just kind of help you and your agency grow. It's a day-by-day planner. It has a monthly planner inside of it. It is on Amazon, so you can order it on Amazon. And the link is actually in the Facebook group. So if you haven't joined the Facebook group yet, please join that. The link for that will be in the description below. Actually, I think the Amazon link is in the description below as well. So check that out. And until next time, I will see you in the next video. Thank you for tuning in.